Battlefield 6 Update 1.3.3.0 is live today, and this is a substantial patch. There's new content, new limited time events, major weapon tuning, vehicle balance changes, netcode improvements, and a lot of quality of life fixes across the entire game. Let's get into it. Now, while new content is usually the highlight of any patch, I'd say the biggest part of today's update is probably the gunplay tuning. DICE is slowing down the average time to kill without changing the absolute best case TTK. In other words, if you're highly accurate and landing a lot of chest and headshots, you will be rewarded with a faster TTK. But if you're hitting limbs or lower torso, you're going to need more shots to finish off your target. Automatic weapons now deal less damage to stomach and limbs, while headshot multipliers have been slightly increased. So the skill gap is being pushed more towards accurate upper body aim instead of just spraying center mass and relying on damage output. Long-range gunfights have also changed. Bullet drag has been increased across the board, with the match-grade ammo getting an even larger drag increase. Most primary weapons are also getting reduced muzzle velocity, meaning bullets will take longer to reach targets at further range. This makes leading shots more important, especially against moving enemies. And at the same time, recoil variation has been reduced across a large portion of the arsenal, which means that more weapons will feel more predictable, and this brings a fun trade-off, where guns feel more consistent, but you need to be more deliberate with your shot placement, burst control, and target leading. And these were actually much more common in older Battlefield games like BF3, but they haven't been as big of a factor in more of the modern Battlefield games, and in my opinion, it's nice to see BF6 bringing some of these mechanics back. Netcode is another major focus of today's patch. DICE says that they've improved damage feedback, hit confirmation, server-side damage handling, time nudge behavior, and bandwidth prioritization. The goal is to reduce frustrating moments where you die behind cover, you take delayed damage, or you see enemies update late on your screen. Now, I've been playing the new patch all morning, and I gotta say my impression started off quite positive. My first match on Golmud using my trusty MP5 loadout was absolutely beaming people. But when I started to switch up to some of my other loadouts that used to perform quite well, they just weren't quite holding up like they used to. Battlefield 6 and frankly most other modern Battlefield games have really trained me away from tap firing, and it's a muscle memory that I had for a long time, and now I just gotta get back into it to achieve the same effectiveness with the weapons. And I think players are going to have to get a bit more used to the range intentions of each weapon. If you had a gun before that could do everything, well, it might not be able to do that now, and that could be a little upsetting for some people who really had their go-to favorites. You might have to find a new go-to favorite. Before the update, everything felt pretty viable in medium to close range. Now it feels like many of those guns are really segmented into very specific ranges with less overlap. It also doesn't necessarily feel like the TTK has been changed that much, at least when it comes to close quarters. I feel like I'm dying just as fast, if not maybe even faster. I'm not sure if maybe it's the netcode or I'm just getting killed by crazy high rate of fire weapons a lot more. Either way, I was struggling to find the consistency in CQB combat, and maybe it's just day one patch issues and I need to sort of dial it in a bit more. The thing I like the most about the weapon changes is the predictable recoil. There's way less random deviation, so it doesn't feel like my guns are just randomly kicking one way or another. That said, there's still plenty of recoil, so DICE's intent is to make people actually mitigate that recoil and learn that recoil better. So the more you play, the better you'll understand your specific gun's recoil, and that's great. It means you will get better over time as long as you're paying attention. Vehicle balance and vehicle versus infantry balance also got some tweaks. The RPG now does more damage against tanks and helicopters, which should make infantry anti-vehicle play a bit stronger. Attack helicopter heavy rockets also deal more damage against tanks, helicopters, and jets. Meanwhile, main battle tank APFSDS rounds have been toned down against armor and aircraft, while the heat rounds now have a larger blast radius. Thermal smoke has also been nerfed, so it's not really mitigating as much damage anymore or removing C4. Basically, it should no longer work as that universal panic button. Infantry fighting vehicles and mobile anti-air are both getting buffs. AP shells fire faster, they travel faster, and they can pierce the projectile intercept system. Guided missiles can also deal more damage. Mobile AA damage against aircraft has been increased too, which could make air vehicles less comfortable if teams are actually using their anti-air options. I had no no trouble taking out helicopters with the fixed AA gun on Gol Mud this morning, which is something I never expected to say about Battlefield 6's anti-air options. Now, maps and modes are also getting a pretty broad cleanup pass. Cairo Bazaar, Eastwood, New Sobek City, Saints Quarter, Siege of Cairo are all getting fixes in today's update, plus many of the game modes are also getting tweaks and adjustment for balance. The UI is also getting a lot of quality of life improvements. There's now a Mark All Scene button for loadouts, Battle Pass, store profile changes. There's also a new event tab, better objective messaging, improved revive prompt behavior, more reliable air vehicle icons, and then there's some fixes for hit indicators, damage numbers, enemy icons, cosmetics, and Battle Pass rewards. Portal creators are also getting some meaningful additions. Moving platforms have been added, along with new camera controls, physics impulse actions, vehicle supply stations, Operation Metro in the SDK, custom bazaar in the spatial editor, top-down map images, and verified squad deathmatch and team deathmatch modes. That should give Portal creators a lot more room to build interesting custom experiences. Now, I do have one disappointing update for this patch notes. Initially, it appeared that DICE was going to change the way that XP boosts worked so that they would only count down the time when you were in game. Previously, XP boosts would count down in real time whether you were playing Battlefield 6 or not. It's been a pretty big point of contention for a lot of players. Unfortunately, though, this update did not actually get pushed through in this patch, and hopefully we'll see it down the road. Overall, though, I think this update is a big step in the right direction, and it should be one of those patches that noticeably changes how Battlefield 6 feels from moment to moment. Oh yeah, and also there's some new content built around the Wet Work event, which is bringing some new limited time event type things and some completion things where you can get some custom melee weapon and other things like that. The new event introduced a contract system, which is honestly the best thing a Battlefield event has done to date, and I hope it stays in the game to some capacity. I'm also really enjoying the new mode, Tactical Obliteration. Obliteration in general has felt like an incredibly cinematic and only in Battlefield type experience, and it's basically just non-stop chaotic fun as everybody chases the bomb around. And whittling it down to 16 players slows the pacing down a lot, but it keeps the tactics and tension intact, which is great. Every match I've played so far has felt like a real nail biter. So overall, I think DICE is going in the right direction. Having just played the patch this morning, it was not enough time for me to really dive deep on all of the weapon mechanics or even the netcode, which still felt a little bit wonky. Who knows, maybe I was connected with some people from different time zones. It just felt like there were some very quick deaths in CQB. I'd be curious to hear what you guys think. It's always tough when DICE makes a big change to the way that weapon mechanics work, especially with so much good favor going in Battlefield 6's direction right now, and them dropping a big change patch that might change up some of your favorite guns to be, well, not your favorite guns anymore. I'd be curious to know if this maybe upsets you initially, but then you grow into liking the new balance changes. Overall, on paper, I really like the balance changes, but again, I gotta get used to tap firing and burst firing a bit more. Now, up next, if you want to dive a little bit further into Battlefield's history, check out this video on some of the craziest vehicles ever added to the franchise. I guarantee you there's at least one on there that you haven't heard about before, or at least thought about in quite a while. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.